good afternoon, whatever time it is that you take this. It is awesome to be back. It's been like an entire year, Javier. Can you believe this?
It's crazy. I don't know why we stopped or when we stopped. So
Yeah.
it's been a
There's
whirlwind.
no excuse. There's
No,
no excuse.
no.
Yeah. I was gonna say life happens, but there's no excuse. There's always time for doing things you
As
love.
a previous leader used to tell us, if so can do it, so can you. If you, by the way, if you listen to this and you know who that was, you lived, you lived life.
You survived.
You survived.
You did. You're a survivor and you matter. But I'm super excited to be back. It's definitely been too long, and so much has changed,
Yeah.
really, for both of us since then.
hmm
So I know I've got a bunch that's changed for me, but why don't you get everybody caught up on what's new with you? What's happening?
Yeah. I think the changes are bigger for me in my personal life. I've still with Starbucks. Been with Starbucks now for 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I've been in the district that I'm in now for, I just hit my year mark. So it's been good. It's been a heck of a ride. Starbucks reminds me a lot of, um, T-Mobile in its heyday, from just a cultural perspective and people first and focus on development. And so that's been great. And it's been great to see the new CEO for our company and the direction that we're headed, because I feel like it's definitely focused on the right things. And I think the things that we bring to the business are being valued. And so I'm excited for that part. As far as personal, um, I dropped the mortgage like it was hot.
You
That
listen
was
to
such a
the
dad thing to
Jack
say right
Johnson.
there.
You
Yeah.
listen to the Jack
Yeah.
Johnson podcast, and boom, now your life is
15
fixed.
times. I went back and listened
I
to Jack Johnson about 15 times, and it finally sunk in. Get rid of your mortgage, dummy.
know.
And so I did. I sold my house. I got rid of my mortgage. I'm living mortgage free,
Holy cow.
and debt free. And so no car payment, nothing. And
It's
it's
amazing.
been pretty amazing so far. We'll see where it takes me, but that's probably the biggest step that I took this year. I had my house on the market for almost a year because the housing market is not the best, and it's still not the best. But I was able to do it. So here I am, back on the call with you, and looking forward to kind of relaunching this and giving some insight. I was telling somebody the other day about this, and they said, you should really bring that back. I would benefit from it, and I want to listen. And I said, honestly, like, it's fun. I honestly, part of it, I do it for therapeutic reasons for my own self. Part of it is I get on here because it's therapy for me. So glad to be back and talking to my partner in crime, JB. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I am super excited to be back as well, but probably more super excited for you not to have debt. And I don't know what journey it would lead you down other than to prosperity, but yeah, congrats to you because that's something that a lot of people strive for and work their whole lives to get to. So
Yeah.
kudos to you and congrats on not having that huge weight on your shoulders all the time.
100%. How about you give us an update about you? What's going on with you, Mr.
Oh,
JB?
nothing much has changed. But although, you did say we that they would value us, and yeah, I am fortunate to be working with you again and to be at Starbucks. And I want to talk about that a little bit more too, because I think there's a lot of parallels between, what we did when we were
hmm
at T-Mobile and the company and the culture, what was there and what's here. And I know we'll get to it, but I think it's just so interesting to understand as both of us have transitioned from business to business and company to company, what was the same, what was different, what we take with us as far as our approach and what we do, and how that translates to different businesses. So That's the big thing for us. We still have our renovation business, and if you're familiar with Florida at all, we had a couple things happen towards the back half of the year, so that business is really taken off with both of the hurricanes that came through, which is great. But it's also a lot. So there's a lot there, and my wife has been just such a soldier going through that and keeping that business going while we also start here and start slinging coffee. But that's been great. Family is doing awesome. Today is actually Alexander's birthday, so
Oh,
right,
happy
yeah,
birthday.
yeah. Right after we're done with this, we're gonna go take him to his favorite pizza place while we
Nice.
wait for our Texas Roadhouse to open because that's his favorite restaurant. But it's
Oh,
uh, it's opening in the front of our neighborhood at the end of the month,
oh,
and
that'll be
he's
easy. Can you walk to it?
100%.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah,
that's
check this
dangerous.
out. Check this out. So we can walk to Texas Roadhouse, and guess what's on our way back?
Ice
Andy's
cream.
custard.
Oh my gosh. No. No, Justin.
It's such a problem.
Everybody keep an eye on Justin, please.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see from podcast to podcast how much weight I gain
Yes,
going from one to the next.
that's why I'm saying to keep an eye on you. If they see you falling off the handle, put it in the comments. Justin,
Yeah,
you're falling off the
please.
wagon. Get back
Yep.
on.
Be my accountability. Tell me that I've turned into a waste of dump.
Yeah. So you mentioned, coming to Starbucks. You've seen already a new CEO come in place. You've seen a lot of changes and the direction that we're headed. And it kind of reminds me of back when we were in wireless and things were moving really fast, right? And I remember during that time, and I know I learned a lot, but I'd love to hear from you first. You know, uh, there was during that time there was a ramp up, I would say, of accountability, while at the same time still keep trying to keep the thread of development.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes when companies move fast, or you're in an organization that's moving fast, some of the work um, can be misinterpreted, or some of the message can be misinterpreted, which causes us to kind of drift a little bit from the development piece. But talk to me, those that are listening, around the importance of development and the balance of that and accountability, especially in a fast moving environment, and in a culture that is moving quickly and trying to make big behavioral changes fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's such an important question because it happens so often now, especially with the economic climate that we're in. And first of all, I would say that the one thing that I've learned from the transitions from going from spending the majority of my adult life with one company, then transitioning away and owning my own business and getting another business, and then working for a smaller dealer that is family owned as well, and then going back to another big corporation is just understanding how the economic climate and how the business needs to survive impacts everything down the line,
Mm,
and changes, like you said. So it's kind of like that fork in the road a little bit that we had at T-Mobile in 2011 when we were on the dying brands lists, and we didn't know if we were going to make it, and AT&T was going to purchase, and John Legere came in, and all of a sudden things started changing, and it felt good and it felt invigorating, and you got a lot of people's buy-in because of the direction we were heading. Like, it just felt like a huge sense of relief. And it's very similar to what we have today. Because the funny thing is, I started 2 weeks after Brian started with Starbucks. So I was already watching from the sidelines to see what his direction was and what he wanted to accomplish. And all of it clicked and made sense to me. Let's make sure that our stores are the most inviting for customers. Let's make sure we create great connections with them. Let's make sure we get a chance to demonstrate the value of what we do through our craft, and people were at the center of that.
mm,
And that was exactly what we did with T-Mobile. People were the center. You listen to your customers, you listen to your employees, and you act on
mhm.
it. And that's very much the same. But the danger is exactly what you said, especially if you've been there for a long time, is that you get that level of excitement for something that's new, but you also are very unsure as to what you should be focused on moving forward. You're kind of waiting to a certain degree. And the difference for me here now is I fully understand what I need to do. And a lot of it comes down to going back and reinvesting in people and making sure that they don't get left behind. And what I mean by that is being very deliberate about sharing the
Mm,
why behind everything they're seeing, and then being very intentional with the behaviors and their actions that line up with exactly what I shared, what we're trying to do, create the coffee house experience, make sure that our customers feel a great connection and they have a good experience. Because that is what needs to happen. When you go through a leadership change or you're going through a reorg, the most important thing is to be able to execute and move quickly with what's being asked of us. And I'll just be honest, there's not a lot so far that's been asked of us outside of give customers a great experience. And so the simpler we can keep that for our teams and translate that to actions, I think that's development for our leaders because number one, they don't necessarily understand how to change behaviors themselves or how to adapt to
mm,
change themselves because nobody loves it. So if you can do a good job of creating a vision for what the change should be and then tying it to their everyday work, that's development because then new
yep,
changes can come and they can still adapt to those things. And then they feel more confident with what they're doing, that they're supporting what the company is asking them to do. But you have been here longer than I have. You've also been able to translate your leadership across multiple roles, across multiple companies. And so I'm curious, you're in the same position as I am with this change. What are some of the things that you've taken with you the entire time that are helping you in developing your team? Like what are things that are the same and consistent?
yeah. Well, first of all, it's exactly what you said. You have to explain the why. You have to show the big picture and gather people around a message, that message of why, and it needs to resonate with them. I wrote something down as you were talking because in a fast moving environment, and when the ramping up of accountability happens where we need to be accountable, and word typically comes out when you're trying to do behavioral change and behavioral modification. But the issue is a lot of times when you're moving fast and you preach that word of accountability, with development goes out the window. So what leaders start doing is like, I'm just going to hold them accountable. I'm just going to
Yeah,
hold them accountable. And so they have accountability without development, which equals compliance. And that's what you end up getting is people doing behaviors out of compliance instead of doing it because it's the right thing to do, because they know they see the benefit of doing it and they enjoy doing it. Accountability should only come once you have put the ball in their court 100% by giving them all the tools they need to be successful. Once you've done that and they understand the how, the what, all the why, all those things, and they're still not doing the behavior, then that's where accountability comes in. But you can't go straight to accountability just because you're moving really fast. And so you have to be very mindful that you've done everything in your part to develop them. So back to your question, a couple things that I did that basically I carried over, that I carry always carry over with me. One is recognition. Recognition is really important. Aligning recognition around results and tying in those two things are critical. Second, I would say leveraging your high performing uh, people. And so your people managers that are high performing, that know what good looks like, that they get it from a leadership perspective, you got to be able to leverage them to develop others, because you're only one person, and as a multi-unit leader, you need help from your team to be able to support some of that development. But that development is crucial, right? Uh, Diving into root cause, I would say is three, right? Like you have to be able to dive in and get to the root of the problem. Otherwise, they're just spinning their wheels. If you go and do a visit to a store, or you're in whatever industry you're in, if you're giving direction to your team or to an individual on your team, and you give them just a laundry list of things to do, it they're they're going to be overwhelmed. One, they're not going to be able to complete everything on there. They're not seeing how to get to the root of cause of the problem to fix it. They're just going to try to put out all those fires. And so you have to help them say, okay, look, here's all these things, right? But let's figure out what are the one or two things that you can change in your approach as a leader that is going to help you to land on the majority of these things. And let's start there. And 9 times out of 10, it goes back to uh, clear communication. It goes back to delegation and follow up, the execution of those things will ultimately help. Um, the last thing I would say is giving your team a clear picture of development and the steps they can take to uh, get to the next level in their career within your company. Because if they see value in the company itself and they can see, hey, I can see myself growing here,
Hmm.
that is going to help your results in the end because it helps attrition. Attrition is the biggest enemy of results. I don't care what industry you're in. If you have high attrition rates, your results are going to be very inconsistent because you're constantly trying to hire people, and it's just going to lead down a path of failure. No matter how good of a teacher you are, no matter how good of a developer you are, you have to tackle attrition before anything else. And so, giving them a path of development, if they don't want to be with your company as a career, then at minimum give them a path through your benefits and let them see the benefits of the company so that they can stay longer and become a stickier employee to your business. So
Yeah.
those were things I would say.
And I love that because, well, we've been super fortunate in the companies we spent the majority of our careers with, and they have such an awesome benefits package.
Hmm.
And both companies want internal promotion
Yeah.
and are scored on internal promotion. So there's a pathway there for sure. And I heard it in your reaction as you were talking about leaving them with tasks to do as
Mm.
opposed to helping them find in their own leadership approach, in their leadership behaviors, what's the thing that they can go focus on in order to fix a lot of the problems that are there under root cause? Because that's more evident to me ever here than it even was before because we're so operationally focused. We're obviously serving food, and there's a lot that goes into that that's not necessarily in your average sales job. And so it's glaringly apparent to me how important that is in helping them identify not just what you see, but how we got to that point and how they can grow from it. And I also wrote this down too as you were talking because I think this really sums it up. Accountability is the easy road and it's short-lived.
Mm.
And development is the harder but sustained path because
Hmm.
you're building something for the future.
Yep.
And I think that's where we are right now. I think we're at a crossroads of what we want to do. We're used to executing, we're used to accountability, but we're trying to get to a place where we develop people because exactly for all the reasons you said, keeping employees, keeping them happy, that's going to lead to a great experience for our customers as well. And it's so touching to see how many of our customers know our employees by name and come
Hmm.
back in just for that. And it shows you the power of great connections
Yeah.
with people. And that's our responsibility is to bring that out of people,
Yeah.
which I think is totally awesome.
Yeah. When you know some of you out there may be saying, well, that's easier said than done when you're trying to move really fast and the expectation is, hey, these behaviors need to be 100%. They need to be executed. That's hard, right? And so your first reaction is like, well, I don't have time to develop because development takes time, like you said.
Yeah.
In my previous experience, in our previous experience, doing it together makes it easier, right? And what I mean by that is you got to be able to partner with your peers. You got to be able to leverage other leaders, their peers, to help you through that process when you're moving fast, because you are just one person, and but you can't sacrifice development uh, just to hold people accountable, because you're not getting a behavior 100%. The other thing is it takes time for a behavior to stick, right? And to become to become a habit. And for that behavior to become a habit, it takes time. Now, what I want to see, and this is what you tell me if I'm wrong, but what I want to see is, you know, not necessarily perfection, but when a opportunity presents itself, or a miss in a behavior that you're wanting to see in whatever business that you're in, that there is coaching happening. Because if there's coaching happening, then the result will eventually come. You're moving in the right direction. If the coaching is missing and the behavior is missing, then you have a problem, because then you're never going to get the behavior in place. And so it's so important that you have consistent coaching happening to turn those behaviors into habits. And so I think that's something to watch out for as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. If your team's not investing in their team, then what you're trying to accomplish is never going to happen. And it's funny because as you were talking, I was thinking about the word culture, and I think about actually the second thing that you shared that you take with you, which is leveraging your high performers. And I just had to look at the actual definition of culture, and culture refers to shared values, attitudes, behaviors, and practices that define how we operate and how we work together.
Mm,
And when you're trying to create culture, usually you're going to have people that are exhibiting the behaviors and the attitude and the practice that you want. And what better way to get everybody where you want them to be than to leverage the people that are doing it already? And I've been finding areas of opportunity for us with that already. And any role you're going to step into or team you're going to step into, that's going to be the case. You're going to have people there that are already, they get it, they see it, and they're either living it or they're very adaptable and they can pick it up quick. And then your mission as a leader is how do you bring that out of them to everybody else? And I just
mm,
had that epiphany with my team today. In fact, there was something that our district is not great with, and I can see how it's impacting our customers. And I thought, how do I make sure that we're very consistent with this? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was probably you on my shoulder or whatever, but I said, there's two people that are already great at this on my team and they have great environments. I'm going to bring my entire team and have them go work in their stores so they get a chance to feel it,
mm.
so they can see the impact because it is that impactful to our customers. It tells them whether or not their orders are ready. It tells them if they're on time, and it enables them to help customers sitting right in front of them as opposed to waiting until they see their order. So not to go too deep into what we do, but it's such a great point around how you can quickly get your culture where you want it by
Mhm.
leveraging people that are already, they have that attitude and that behavior you're looking for.
Yeah. Um, and the other thing I think what leaders don't realize is that your team is going to mimic how you lead, right? Unconsciously at times, right? Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious. But I'll give you an example. If you're going into a store, you're a multi-unit leader, or you're a store manager, um, and you're going to your next level leaders, right? Your shift supervisors, or your
Assistant
store
managers.
managers, assistant managers, whatever the case is, and you are communicating to them in a way that is task oriented, or you're giving them a list of things to do through the week or through the day, and there's not a lot of thought involved. It's more just, hey, get this stuff done. How do you think they're going to do communicate to their next people? They're
Yeah.
going to do the same thing. And so, as a multi-unit leader, if you're going and doing a visit and you're telling them, giving them a list, hey, these 10 things need to be fixed. I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. They're just gonna go to their team and say, "Hey, these things, fix these 10 things." All right. There's not a whole lot of thought behind it. There's no development involved there
Hmm.
because it's just a task. So you're treating, nothing against admins. Admins are very important. I wish I had one. Um, but yeah, if you treat leaders like admins, they will act like admins, and they will
Hmm.
they will treat their team like an admin. And so it's just not beneficial, and then it's not going to bring you success long term, because all they're doing is taking a bucket and putting out fires rather than developing their team to not create the fire to begin with.
Yeah.
And so that's the crucial piece.
Yeah, it's funny. I correlate it to parenting to a certain degree. Like when your kids are younger, it's pretty easy to say, hey, your room's messy and I need you to clean up the bathroom from where you just were. Like, let me just point out the things that I see. But as they get older, they have habits and they have behaviors. And if you just give them those list of things, they're never necessarily going to get down to what they need to do to fix it. Like, instead of coming home and throwing your backpack on the floor and going to get a snack right away, how about you pause and do your homework and then go jump in and, do what you need to do after that. And let's just change the behavior that you have when you come home, because a lot of those other things will then, get done because you fix the behavior. And
Right.
it's very similar, when you go to the real world and you're working with real leaders. And not to say they're children, but I'm saying we all have habits, we all have behaviors, and the only way to help us is to help us find what we can do a little bit different, to make a bigger impact. So I love that.
Yeah. You didn't know we were going to give parenting advice today, did you? There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. If
welcome.
you have parenting questions, I don't know if you want to ask me. I got it like 10 years to see if it worked for my kids, but Javier's already there. He's already got the teenagers and they're already driving and everything. So throw those in chat
I
too.
don't want to talk about it. I have an 18-year-old that just started dating, and I'm struggling. Okay.
Oh man, that day. So how did that come to you the first time? How did you find out she was dating?
Well, I can't. No, it's not how I found out. This kid was a good kid. He actually came to me and asked me permission, um, before, like
Wow.
old school, old style.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I appreciated. Kids really mature. I mean, honestly, it couldn't be a better kid in that process, to be honest. But I don't want to say too much about it because if she listens to this later, she's gonna kill me. But yeah, it's part of life. I mean,
It
to
is.
me, she's still my little girl, even though she's hasn't been in quite some time.
She's not.
Uh, I remember still, getting on Disney rides with her and taking her to Disney World, and you know, her sitting on my shoulders, and what happened. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well, you still have those moments. They're just different.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
Just
no, not
different.
not exactly. But thanks for trying to making me feel better.
Hey, you had a young man get the courage to come to you, and you're
Yeah,
intimidating with the beard and all
it
the
is.
gray. And
And when I
so,
talk like this, forget
my
about
gosh,
it.
it makes me want to run out of my QBR right away. Oh, that's awesome. Happy to talk about parenting as well, and maybe we can touch on that on another episode. But believe it or not, we're already like well over 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm super excited to be back, and it's awesome even if 10 people just listen and check it out, because we get a chance to talk about what we're passionate about. But I'd love the interaction. So if anybody has any topics that they want to see or hear from us,
put it in the
let us
comments.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, put it in the comments and share it. That would be awesome.
And if you could, please like, subscribe, share with someone that you think would benefit from this. And like Justin said, if you have some suggestions, put it in the comments. If you have some advice or some things that you thought about as we were talking that maybe we didn't touch on, put it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you are thinking, what you have to say, and we'll find ways to incorporate that as well in the podcast.
Absolutely. All right, till next time.
All right.
Average Two Average Jays is back.
Take it easy, my friend.
Stay
Stay
thirsty.
thirsty.